What is going on, everybody? Anon here, and after a fun-filled weekend for Father's Day, I want to get back to the grind here, and I figured we're about halfway through the year, so let's take a look at revisit some of the predictions that we put out. I think I put this video out right around Christmas time, maybe a little bit early in December, and some of these are at this point it's kind of like a no kidding, but I want to revisit, and we could talk through, and we could talk through what the second half of the year looks like here. So the first one, this one was a little bit of a reach back then, but Crown Zenith packs hitting $10. They were $4.75 when I first posted the video. I think I bought 1,600 packs, sub $4, just because it was a huge rip and ship item, and I wanted the inventory, and the sealed product had started to move. So if we go, I'm going to flip back and forth here a little bit. Go to Crown Zenith. We have the Not Rudy MTG, who I don't think is a real seller. But here you have, you're basically $11. So I would be shocked if these don't start pushing 15 here relatively quickly. But whatever. This runs a little controversial at the time. Silver Tempest will finish the year at a higher booster box price point than Chilling Reign. So at the time, Silver Tempest was $210. Chilling Reign was $300. We'll just go take a look where we're at now. Let's see. Chilling Reign. Booster box. Yeah, so it looks like Chilling. Call it $420 here from some no-name sellers. So, decent price. I still think it's undervalued. And where's Silver Tempest booster box? I honestly haven't looked at these for a while. Yeah, so $350. Well, I mean, you have one here for $350, and then you go right up to $390. So, if you believe the $390 price point, I tend to not. I think there's a lot more Silver Tempest out there than there is Chilling Reign. But I mean, we're right within striking distance. And again, I quite honestly, I think Chilling Reign's just undervalued at this point. So we'll see. That one is looking pretty good. I mean, the 300 versus 210, it's a much tighter rotation, or much tighter bid ask now. Pokemon Center ETBs will all end the year north of $300 per ETB. So this is interesting because this one has a little bit to go. So if we look at the ETBs now, for Shrouded Fable, I do see the light at the end of the tunnel. We've seen. And we have 80 listed, which it's not that bad. But we just saw a massive buyout of Paldean Fates, regular ETBs, Pokemon Center ETBs. Shrouded Fable's now a year old. I think all these are super undervalued. And I thought there was a Shrouded Fable ETB buyout that bought them up to $65. But the fact that the next cheapest specialty set ETB is like, what, $120? And it's just because, or 110, 120, because they keep pumping out prismatic evolutions. I mean, this is undervalued. The regular ETB, but also the Pokemon Center ETB. Journey Together, this is interesting because, I mean, obviously this just came out. This was a pretty massive drop on the market here. Now, we had a little buy right around here in Discord, just because the relative value of the promo plus or the Pokemon Center ETB was like $20 less than buying the promo and buying the regular ETB if you prorate it for 11 packs versus 9, which made no sense whatsoever. So it just gets to the market distortion of when a lot of this stuff comes on the market and it's a race to zero, things get cheap and there's value there. Twilight, not quite there yet. The two Paradox they're pushing 150. The Temporals are also pushing 150 now. So, these are kind of the low hanging fruit, if you will, the ones that we're going to struggle to get to 300. Stellar Crown, these were at 175 for the longest time. I'm not quite sure why. It looks like a bunch of stock hit the market. I haven't looked at these in a while. I don't want to spend too much time on this because this is a whole other video. But as we go, surging, pushing 200. Let's see. These should be over 200 at this point now. Huh. Yeah, so it looks like a lot of no-name sellers have listed some of this stuff on here just to panic sell, which is great. Yeah, you have your two SV bases over 200. Then every other set is gonna push $300 if it hasn't already. So, this one, I think right now I'm probably halfway correct. But we also have half a year to go. So who knows what it's going to look like at the end of the year. All SV booster boxes are north of MSRP. They're all north of $200 at this point. The one thing that I haven't seen yet is Pokemon Company has not officially raised their MSRP to, again, I kind of ass pulled $179.99. But that's probably something that they're going to do relatively quickly. This one, in hindsight, looks like it was a no-brainer. Paldea Evolved, Twilight, Stellar Crown would be the next boxes to hit 200 for the sets that are already released. So when I put this out, Surging Sparks just came out. And Surging Sparks was over $200, I believe. So, I think Paldea Evolved was like 165. Twilight was right around 150. Stellar was like 130. So, I mean, they're all over 200. So I don't really want to split hairs with that, but this was right on. Let's talk 151 because I know I've mentioned it quite a bit. Oh, here's the other thing: the PCETB's Paradox, Temporal, and Shrouded all under $100 back then, which is crazy. So the Paradox and the Temporal are almost a 2x year to date, and Shrouded obviously hasn't moved that much. So with 151. It's getting long in the tooth, and I've mentioned multiple times it's going to rotate out in April of 2026. So we continue to get this small little shitty ancillary product, the Alakazam boxes, the poster collections, which I don't know why, other than they're going for quantity to kind of cast a wider net. For the longest time we were getting booster bundles, and booster bundles are great because they're nice and compact and easy to ship, easy to sell. But I have a feeling we're going to see another wave of booster bundles here at some point near the end of the summer. I have no facts. I just, again, we're getting a ton of 151 Blooming Waters, which, the price of the Blooming Waters box now is less than what the per price pack value is if you're just buying the loose packs, which again, talk about market discrepancy. It's totally broken. But I mean, look, now's the time to accumulate because we know 151 is going out of print soon. What we didn't know 6 months ago when I put this together was how was the Pokemon Company going to treat the specialty sets? So for example, they were printing the crap out of Crown Zenith with the Sea and Sky. Were they going to actually shut down the reprint window in April of 2025, or were they going to keep printing? Seems so far they're not printing it, which gives me a much higher degree of confidence that Paldean Fates and 151 only have 8 months left. So again, there's not a whole lot of time to accumulate product. And again, Paldean Fates just got absolutely flushed through TCG Player. So they're all going to start to move. I think the cheapest pack price is like $13 now. The Hyperon Pokemon's exponentially greater to the end of 2025. I mean, I would argue it is now by a long shot. I mean, at that point, we hadn't even had Prismatic Evolutions coming out, but I want to see what happens with Black and White, whether it's a home run, whether it's lukewarm, what happens there. And then, I want to see the spoilers over the next couple weeks of MEO1 and see what happens there. By the way, I think I was the first person to put out a confirmation video on that. And that was just regarding the sales opening overseas through various distributors. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Stellar Crown, the best performing Scarlet and Violet booster box of this year, and will not get a reprint. So I want to go to this, and this is a video I did on the 25th, so it's a little dated, or I'm sorry, it's actually the 10th. It's only dated about a week. So I pulled all the prices from January through June 10th, and then when I sort them down here, we have year-to-date returns. So SV base, number 1, Paldea Evolved, number 2, Temporal, number 3, and then Stellar Crown at 55% right behind. But then you have Obsidian 54, Paradox 52. This just goes to show you that if you bought anything outside of the newer products at inflated prices, you're doing reasonably well. And I think the Prismatic Evolutions situation, I mean, now's the time to start to average into your position. It just is. At some point there's going to be more shiny new product to come where they potentially can't keep up. And look, these are the inventory dumps that they generate wealth, right? Because you're not even taking money from somebody else. It's just the overall amount that people are willing to pay is taking money out of stores' hands and distributors' hands and redistributing it to you as a consumer and as a buyer over a period of time, which is exactly what investing is supposed to do. Temporal Forces, we did get that reprint. Like I said, I got a couple cases at year end. I think it was a second wave, to be quite honest, and I don't think it was very big. But that did come to fruition. This one's interesting. So this is vintage Magic. And we know the vintage Pokemon market is really, really heating up. But I've started to see a lot of signs of life with vintage Magic as well. It's kind of like, rising tide lifts all boats. But at some point, there's so much money sloshing around out there that it was gonna start coming back to life. And then any other games are pretty much garbage. I mean, the only other game that's worth a shit right now from a hold on value perspective is One Piece. Flesh and Blood, the last 2 sets have been great, but the problem with Flesh and Blood is when they rotate cards out of play, it crushes the value of the sealed product historically. And not only does the value not hold up, the liquidity goes to shit and it just ends up being garbage. And, you'll have one-offs like, your waifu Weiss sets are always going to do well. We have Gundam coming out. Godzilla, I have no idea what to think about that. And we have Riftbound coming out in October. So we'll see. But I think the main things to take a look at over the next 2 to 3 months are, where do the reprints start to come from? We've just seen another Surging Sparks reprint, had almost no impact. And I'm getting 20-ish cases from each distributor of it, and I don't even know it's coming half the time because it's like, hey, if it comes, just send it to me. I just don't know. We did get the second wave of Destined Rivals has started to flow through distribution, so there will be more booster boxes coming to market. Booster boxes, bundles, I think. I haven't seen a whole lot of ETBs. Those probably all went out the first time. So we've seen that. Blooming Waters again. I still don't understand the fascination with these big, bulky products of 151 and why they're printing them. It just seems extremely inefficient unless they have all this extra stock and product that they want to burn through, which could certainly be the case. And then we're seeing the back and forth between things start to get expensive with Sword and Shield. It takes a leg up, and then the bargain shoppers swing back to Scarlet Violet, and the pendulum just swings back and forth. That's why in no world can Shrouded Fable stay where it's at. It's not going to happen. And at some point, and it is really, really starting to dry up. Actually, very quickly, let me get back to this really quick because I do want to look at this. Yeah, these things you're going to wake up one day and they're going to be $100 in ETB, and people are going to say, "How did I miss it?" And quite honestly, this stuff just happens quickly. Yeah, so yeah, only 135 listed. There were a lot of these listed for a while, and here you can see the big buyout, 185 ETBs. Lowest list is 67. So yeah, I mean they're getting to where they need to get to. So anyway, guys, again, Paldean Fates, I would keep an eye on that. 151, obviously. Yeah, Prismatic continues to dump. It's always good to own some of that. The ETBs, I'm guessing we don't get a reprint of the ETBs anytime soon. Now they could change the way that they're doing things, but again, it seems to me like they're going to these larger EX boxes. We have the 10-pack ones coming out now with the Ogerpon, and I think there's one or two other ones. It was like Bulbasaur or Venusaur or something that's coming out in October, November. And it seems like they're going to larger products with a higher quantity of packs. And I don't know if it's more of just like a billboard or marketing, a way to spread a little bit of a little bit of a wider net, or if it's just because, the margins are 40% better. So, why the hell not? Other than that, Destined, I'm just sitting back and watching. If the PC ETBs drop far enough, I'll start to pick some of those out. Journey, same thing. I mean, at some point there's going to be second wave, and I'll be able to get more of that from distribution. Surging, people keep buying it. They love it. And again, it'll be interesting to see if we get any booster box reprints of any of this other stuff, because I have a feeling we haven't gotten much because they're just printing the crap out of MEO1, and it's going to be super interesting when those allocations come out to see how much supply really is in the market. So anyway, guys, hopefully this was helpful. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, join the Discord, and we'll talk soon.